My name is Ruth Eddington, and I'm 77 years old. I have been living in Goldsboro for more than half a century, 52 years, to be exact. I moved here with my late husband, Alan, when we bought this house on Cedar Street. Back then, we were younger, hopeful, and proud to call it our first real home. Now, the rooms seem larger than I can handle. Too much space for a single woman. Still, I cannot bring myself to leave. Every corner whispers something back to me, memories of laughter, quarrels, holidays, even the quiet mornings when Alan would sit by the window with his coffee. To me, this house is not just wood and brick. It is the life we built together. It is Sunday today, and Sundays always carry a routine. I prepare the house for a visit from my son, Perry, and his wife, Audrey. They come every other week, arriving like clockwork for lunch. Perry claims he does this because he worries about me, but I know there are deeper reasons. He wants to keep an eye on me, to make sure I haven't gone and changed my will or left the house to someone else. Perhaps he would never admit it out loud, but I see it in the way he talks, the way he looks around. Still, I play along. Right now, I stand at the stove, slowly stirring a pot of vegetable stew, the recipe Perry loved most as a child. The smell rises warmly, filling the kitchen, and it brings back echoes of years past. Through the small window above the sink, I notice my neighbor Una walking her little dog. She spots me, waves cheerfully, and I return the gesture. Una is one of the very few in this town with whom I have a real friendship. She is younger than me by at least 15 years, but that difference has never come between us. The clock says noon. I still have an hour before my son and his wife pull up in their car. 1 o'clock sharp, never earlier, never later. Punctuality is something Perry inherited from his father. Alan was the same way. It has been 8 long years since Alan passed, yet not a day goes by when I don't speak to him in my own way. Especially in the kitchen. He would sit on that chair near the door, watching me chop vegetables, while telling his endless stories funny. Stories, little tales from his days as a letter carrier. Alan worked 35 years delivering letters in this very town, and I worked in the same post office where we first met, back in 1968. He always said life was too short to live without laughter, and he meant it. His humor kept me young, even when time was trying to pull me the other way. I sometimes wonder what Alan would say if he saw Perry now. Our only son, Alan's pride. For so long, I believed Perry could do no wrong, that he would grow into a kind, dependable man. And in some ways he has a steady job, a house of his own, a car he takes pride in. But when I look at him these days, I see something missing. Perhaps it is Audrey's influence. Perhaps it was always there, and I simply refuse to see it. A sound pulls me from my thoughts, the familiar purr of Perry's car turning onto Cedar Street. Sure enough, the sleek black sedan eases up to the curb. Perry has always bought the same make of car, only trading for a newer model every few years, like clockwork. The passenger door opens and Audrey steps out first. Her appearance is unchanged, almost mechanical, her short blonde hair styled so precisely it looks stiff, every strand unmoving. Her pale blue dress cut just right, pearl earrings gleaming, expensive of course. She once left a check on my table, by accident, as though she wanted me to see how much her jewelry cost. Perry gets out next, tall, broad in the shoulders, though age has left a grey mist creeping into his hair. He still looks like Alan in his younger years, but the warmth in his eyes, Alan's warmth, is missing. I hurry to the front door and open it before they can ring the bell. "Mum, you look great," Perry says, hugging me. He always says this, every visit, with the same tone, as though reading from a script. "Hello, Ruth," Audrey greets, leaning in to kiss the air near my cheek. Her smile is practiced. Never too warm, never too cold. What's that wonderful smell? Have you been cooking all day again? Her concern sounds rehearsed. She insists they could have brought food from a restaurant, and I know she would have preferred that. Audrey does not care for my cooking. Sometimes I joke to myself that she thinks I might poison her. It's nothing, I reply lightly. I like cooking. What else does an old woman have to do? Perry frowns quickly. You're not old, Mom. 77 isn't old. Isn't it? I smile, amused. We move to the living room, and as always, Audrey's eyes wander the space. She studies the furniture, the photographs, the mantelpiece. They stop at Alan's picture. 8 years today, isn't it? She asks in a flat voice. 8 years and 3 months, I answer softly. But who's counting? The silence that follows is short-lived. Perry clears his throat and dives into the subject that never leaves him for long. Mum, have you thought about moving into a smaller place? This house is big. It takes a lot to keep up. Here it is, barely 5 minutes into their visit. The question comes up every time. He suggests apartments, retirement homes, sometimes even staying closer to them. Always for my own good. I like my house, I reply firmly. And Una helps me once a week. That's enough. Una? Audrey wrinkles her nose. That neighbor? She isn't reliable. You don't even have a contract with her. Why would I need a contract with a friend? I answer surprised. She's never failed me once in 15 years. Audrey presses, saying they could hire a professional assistant. I know what she really means, someone who can watch me, keep track of what I do, and perhaps what I own. I nod and say I'll think about it, though both of us know I won't. Lunch is served. Perry devours the stew like the boy he once was, spoon after spoon, while Audrey only nibbles, her distaste poorly hidden. I keep the conversation going. How's work? Same old, Perry mutters, mouth full. Flights, long hours. I'm headed to Charleston next week. And you, Audrey? She shrugs. A call center is a call center. Nothing new. I nod, though I know she is hiding something. Una, who works with her, told me Audrey had been put on probation for quarreling with a customer. But of course, Audrey would never tell me that after the meal. We move to the living room again for coffee and dessert. I bring out an apple pie, Alan's favorite. Perry compliments it quickly, but then his eyes drift. Mum, your roof looks like it needs work. I can send the men who did ours. Thank you, dear, but Mr. Pope is already scheduled to come next week. Old man Pope? Perry raises his brows. He's 79, and still the best roofer in town. I correct him. Audrey sighs about the expense, urging me to save money. I smile to myself. They aren't worried about the roof. They're worried about my savings. About Alan's pension, the insurance money, the nest egg we built together. And they're not wrong. I do have money saved. But what they don't know is how carefully I guard it. By the way, I say suddenly, standing up, I want to show you something. I return with a small box and open it before them. Some jewelry I'd like you to keep safe, I explain. Inside are earrings and the brooch Alan gave me for our 30th anniversary. I show them the small key that belongs to my safe. The lock sticks sometimes, so I don't like to use it too often. I'll keep the key here, in the dresser. Audrey's eyes glint with interest, though she tries to appear casual. You have a safe? Yes, built into the wall behind a painting. Alan put it there years ago. I see her glance at the dresser, hungry and calculating. Perry pretends indifference, but I catch his interest as well. I smile faintly, playing along. The rest of the day falls into a familiar pattern. Perry watches sports, Audrey flips through a magazine, and I knit. But every so often, Audrey's eyes stray back to the dresser. I can almost hear her mind turning gears. By 5 o'clock. They are preparing to leave. Perry hugs me, promising to call during the week. Audrey gives her usual air kiss near my cheek and says, "Take care of yourself, Ruth. Don't forget. Your medicine." She always says that, as if she cares deeply about my health. I never forget my medicine. I stand at the door, waving until their car disappears around the corner. Only then do I let the smile slip from my face. There's something about her, Ruth. Something I don't like. But Perry was in love, and we supported his choice. The first years of their marriage were relatively quiet. They came to visit for the holidays, calling once a week. Audrey even tried to play the caring daughter-in-law, though I could always sense deathlessness in her voice. And then Alan got sick. The lung cancer progressed rapidly, and within 6 months, Mr. Watt's husband had become a shadow. In those days, Perry and Audrey started showing up more often. I thought it was out of concern for my father, but now I realized they were interested in something else entirely. One day, a month before Alan died, I overheard them talking in the hospital hallway. They didn't know I'd left the room. "How much do you think they'd managed to put off?" Audrey asked. "The house is fully paid off, plus pensions." "I don't know," Perry answered. Dad had always been secretive about finances. "We'd have to find out. If they have savings, we could." I coughed and they stopped talking. From that day on, I began to notice their eyes wandering around the house during visits, assessing the furniture, the paintings, Alan's things. They never asked directly about money, but their interest was obvious. After Alan's death, their behavior became even more overt. Perry insisted I show him all the documents, insurance, policies, bank accounts, the will. He said he wanted to help me with the paperwork, but I knew he was interested in something else. I'd worked at the post office for 30 years and I was good with paperwork. Now that it's been 8 years, their impatience is becoming more and more obvious. They come every 2 weeks, as if to see if I'm still alive. Each time they offer to sell the house, move into a nursing home here, a small apartment. "It'll be easier for you, Mom. Less worries. We'll be closer to you." But I know all they really care about is the house and the money they think I keep. I get out often, walk to the kitchen. As I make my morning tea, I ponder how Alan would react to Perry's current behavior. He had always been a patient father, but he had his limits. I remember once when Perry was a teenager and tried to steal money from his wallet. Alan taught him such a lesson that his son walked like silk for a month afterward. He didn't punish him. No, Alan never raised a hand to the kid. Instead, he made Perry work for a month at Mr. Garfield's neighbor's house, helping with the hard work in their garden. Every dollar Perry earned had to give back to his father until he returned the stolen amount in triplicate. It's not punishment that makes a man a better man, Ruth, but understanding the consequences of one's actions. Alan used to say, "Maybe Perry and Audrey need Allison too." Tea is ready, and I sit by the window, watching the rain turn my garden into a blurry watercolor. I wonder what Alan would do in my shoes. He was always a master of pranks, especially when it came to those who deserved it. I remember the case of Mr. Dawson, the postmaster, who liked to peep at women in the locker room. Alan set it up so that Dawson got stuck in the women's restroom while checking out of the main office. He was found 2 hours later, red with shame and anger. After that, he transferred to another department. The ringing of the phone interrupts my memories. "It's Una. Good morning, Ruth. How are you today?" "Rainy and a bit lonely," I answer honestly. "And you?" Same old, same old. Listen, I can't come on Wednesday. I've got to pick up my grandson from school. Can I reschedule for Thursday?" Sure, Una. Thursday would be fine. We chat a bit more about the weather, her grandson, the new baker at the local bakery. Une, one of the few people who talks to me for no reason. No ulterior motive. Talking to her makes my heart feel warmer. I finish my tea and decide to clean up a bit, even though Una isn't coming until Thursday. I like a tidy house, another habit left over from living with Alan, who couldn't stand clutter. Walking past the dresser in the living room, I stop. The drawer, where I defiantly put the key to the safe yesterday, is slightly pulled out. I distinctly remember closing it all the way, so Audrey couldn't resist looking in there before she left, after all. I wonder what she thought when she didn't find the key. She must have been disappointed. The thought of a disappointed Audrey makes me smile. Maybe she needs a bigger lesson, something to make her and Perry rethink the way she treats me. The rest of the day goes by with the usual chores. Cooking, reading, late-night TV. I go tobe thinking that I need to come up with something special for Audrey and Perry. Something Alan would definitely approve of. Tuesday afternoon, the phone rings. It's Perry. Hi, Mom. How are you? I'm fine, honey. How are you? I'm fine. Listen, Audrey and I were thinking about coming over Friday night. Maybe we could spend the night if that's okay with you. I have to be in Richmond Saturday morning, and you're closer. That's unusual. Usually they avoid staying overnight at my place. Of course, darling. I'll be glad to see you. Great. See you. Friday then. Perry hangs up without even saying goodbye. That's not new either. He's always been a little tart on the phone, but there's something about his tone that makes me wary. Maybe he and Audrey have a plan. I decide to call Una and move her visit to tomorrow. I need to get ready for Friday, and I could sure use her help. The next day, when Una and I are having tea after cleaning up, I tell her about my suspicions. They're definitely up to something, Una says, shaking her head. Audrey asked Meth other day if I knew if you had any valuables in the house. Really? I raised my eyebrows in surprise. Yeah. Can you believe it? Said she was worried about your safety. Like, in case someone broke in and stole it. I told her I had no idea, because you and I don't talk about that kind of stuff. So Audrey's already doing some recon. That's interesting. So what do you think you're going to do? Una asks. I don't know yet, but I want to teach them a lesson, especially Audrey. Una laughs. Oh, I know that. Look, you already have an idea, right? I smile back. Just the beginnings of one, but I'll definitely come up with something by Friday. After Una leaves, I sit down in Ellen's chair and try to imagine what he would suggest. My gaze falls on a picture of him and me on our 40-year wedding anniversary. The last and we celebrated together. In the photo, Alan is smiling, his sly smile, the same smile he used to have before a particularly successful prank. And then it hits me. I know what I have to do. Thursday morning, I head into town. My first visit is to the bank where I withdraw a small amount from my savings account. Then I go to a hardware store where a young salesman with tattoos helps me pick out what I need. He is a little confused when I explain what I need it for. But I make up a story about a gift for a friend for her 80th birthday. He believes it or pretends to believe it. Back at home, I begin my preparations. First, I take out of the safe all important documents and valuable things, moving them into a special box which I hide in the closet under old winter coats. Then, I take a piece of paper and write a short note. My handwriting is still firm. Another legacy of working at the post office where I had to fill out a lot of forms. Finished with the note, I open the package from the hardware store and pull out my purchase. It's a large pink-colored rubber dildo, so realistic and ridiculous that I can't contain my laughter. Alan would definitely appreciate it. I attach a note to it and put it in the safe. I close the door, check the lock. All done. Now all that is left is to put the key back where it belongs. I decide not to put it in the dresser drawer, but on the mantelpiece next to Alan's picture. It's symbolic, as if he's watching my little prank. In evening, I make dinner. Perry's favorite lasagna and apple pie for dessert. Make the evenings special in every way. And so, I sit in the living room staring at the burning embers in the fireplace and thinking about tomorrow. For the first time in a long time, I feel excitement and anticipation. For the first time in a long time, I'm not dreading their visit, but looking forward to it. Because now I have a plan. A plan that will make them reconsider their attitude towards me. A plan inspired by my late husband's sense of humor. I pick up Alan's picture from the mantelpiece and look at his smiling face. You'd approve of that, wouldn't you? I ask quietly, and I can almost hear him laugh in response. Friday morning, I wake up with an unusual sense of anticipation. I haven't felt this excited in a long time. Perry and Audrey are coming today, and for the first time in a long time, I'm not dreading their visit but looking forward to it. I eat breakfast leisurely, enjoying the quiet of the house and the view of the garden, which is especially green and fresh after the rainy days. The birds are fussing around the feeder that Alan set up years ago. I continue to fill every morning as he did. There's a lot to do today before the guests arrive. Perry called last night, confirmed they would be here by 7. I know it's unusual for them to stay overnight. Usually, they try to leave before dark, as if they're afraid I might demand something from them. But this time, they clearly have a plan of their own, and I'm pretty sure it has to do with my safe. I check that everything is ready for my little surprise. The key is on the mantelpiece, in plain sight, but not too obvious, as if I'd put it there, absent-mindedly. The safe is locked and inside awaits my gift for curious Audrey. All the papers and valuables are safely tucked away in the pantry under a stack of old coats that I'm sure no one will look in. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, Una calls. Are you ready for a visit from the dear family? She asks with a hint of iron in her voice. More than ready, I answer, not hiding my satisfaction. Will you tell me later what happened? I will come on Sunday for tea. I already told them that on Sunday I will be busy. It's a deal. Good luck. After talking to Una, I start cleaning. Although the house is clean enough as it is, I wipe down all the surfaces, vacuum the carpets, change the towels in the bathroom. It helps pass the time and keep my hands busy while my head is full of thoughts about the evening ahead. By 3:00 p.m., I start cooking dinner. I decide to make lasagna, Perry's favorite dish since childhood. He'll never admit it, but I know he misses my cooking. Audrey is a terrible cook, despite her claims to be a homemaker. I've heard from Una that in their house, they mostly eat convenience foods or order delivery. While making lasagna sauce, I remember teaching Perry this recipe when he was a teenager. He showed an interest in cooking, and Alan and I hoped it might become his profession. But then he met his new friends in high school, and cooking became a non-musical endeavor. Another disappointment that Alan and I swallowed in silence. Thoughts of the past are interrupted by the phone ring. It's Perry again. Mum, we're on our way. We'll be there around 6:30. I thought you were coming at 7, I say, glancing at my watch in surprise. We decided to leave early to avoid the evening traffic, he explains. Okay, honey. Dinner will be ready when you are of. He hangs up without even saying goodbye. This habit of Perry's has always annoyed Alan. Is it so hard to say see you later or love you, Mom? He often resented. So they'll be earlier than. This changes my plans a bit, but not critically. I speed up the cooking process and by 6 o'clock everything is ready. Lasagna in the oven, salad in the fridge, apple pie cooling on the windowsill. I have time to shower and put on my dark blue dress with the white collar. the one Alan called Teacher's dress. You look austere in it, but damn attractive, he said, winking. At exactly 6:30, I hear the sound of a car pulling up. Looking out the window, I see Perry's black sedan. They're there minute to minute. Punctuality has always been my son's strong suit. I open the door before they can ring the bell. Good evening, darlings. It's so good to see you. Harry looks tired after the road, and Audrey looks overly animated. She hugs me with exaggerated tenderness. Ruth, how well you look. Is that a new dress? No, dear. I answer. It's 20 years old. Alan loved that dress. Oh, she falters for a moment. Well, it's very elegant. Perry brings in their bags, one a large and one smaller. It's a lot for one night. But I don't comment. It smells great, Mom. Have you been cooking all day? Just the essentials, I answer. Nothing fancy. We walk into the living room and I notice Audrey's eyes immediately find the key on the mantelpiece. She quickly averts her eyes, but I can see her. Expression change. The plan is working. Over dinner, Perry talks a lot about his work, about his upcoming trip to Richmond. Audrey keeps the conversation going, but I notice she's distracted. Her gaze keeps returning to the living room where the key to the safe is on the mantelpiece. How are things going at the call center, Audrey? I ask, trying to bring her attention. Back to the conversation. Huh. She flinches. Oh, same old, same old. Nothing interesting. Una said you had some trouble with a client last week. Audrey casts a quick glance at Perry, who is enthusiastically serving himself a second helping of lasagna. Nothing serious, she replies dreamily. Just the usual work stuff, I nod, but I notice her shoulders tense. She doesn't like it when I know anything about her work, especially about her failures. After dinner, we move to the living room for coffee and dessert. I serve apple pie, another recipe, Alan's favorite. By the way, Mom, Perry says, setting aside his empty plate. I was wondering about your will. Did you update it after Dad died? Here it is. I can almost hear Audrey mentally groaning at his directness. She always preferred a more subtle approach. Yes, dear, I answer calmly. It's all properly organized. And what is it? He tries to sound casual, but it comes out awkwardly. Harry. Audrey hisses, elbowing him. What? He looks at her in surprise. I'm just asking. Mom doesn't mind, do you, Mom? Of course she doesn't mind. I smile. It's very simple. The house and most of the savings will go to you. Some of my personal belongings are bequeathed to Una and a couple of old friends. Perry visibly relaxes upon hearing this. Good. I just wanted to make sure everything was in order. You know, legally. Don't worry, darling. I've taken care of everything. I notice Audrey cast a glance at the mantelpiece where the key lies. I wonder what she's planning to try to find a copy of the will in. The safe. Or does she think that's where the jewelry and money are kept? After dessert, Perry turns on the TV. There's some kind of sports game on. Audrey picks up a magazine, but I can see she's not reading, just flipping through the pages. I'm busy knitting, glancing at them occasionally. A normal family scene if it weren't for the tension hanging in the air. By 9 o'clock, I begin to yawn defiantly. I'm sorry, darlings, but I think I'll go to bed. Age takes its toll. Sure, Mom, Perry says, keeping his eyes on the screen. Don't worry about us. We'll watch more TV. I'll go to bed soon too. Audrey adds, it's been a tiring day. I nod and go to my purse, which is on the table by the entrance. I take out a small jar of sleeping pills. It's a real medication my doctor prescribed for insomnia, but I rarely use it. Tonight, it will serve another purpose. Back in the living room, I defiantly open the jar and shake a pill into my palm. Sleeping pills, I explain, noticing the look in Audrey's eyes. It's getting harder to fall asleep as I get older. I go into the kitchen, pour a glass of water, and take the pill right in front of them. "Good night," I say, heading toward the bedroom. "Good night, Mom," Perry replies. "Sleep tight, Ruth," Audrey adds, and I can hear the impatience in her voice that she's trying to hide. I don't turn on the overhead light in the bedroom, only the small lamp on the bedside table. I quickly change into my nightgown and get under the covers. But instead of lying down, I sit up, leaning back against the pillows, and pick up the book I keep on the nightstand, an Agatha Christie detective novel. I'm rereading for the third time. Outside come the muffled voices of Perry and Audrey, the noise of the television. I know they're waiting for me to fall asleep. Well, let them think their plan is working. My trap is ready, and all I have to do is wait for the mouse to fall. Half an hour later, I hear the TV turn off. The voices get quieter, then the sound of footsteps in the hallway, the guest room door opening and closing. I turn off the lamp and sit down in the chair by the window, which has a clear view of the door to my room. Now we have to wait. Time drags. Slowly, the clock on the wall reads 10, then 10:30, then 11. The house sinks into silence with only the old clock in the living room, chiming every half hour and the occasional creak of a floorboard. The house breathes as Alan had said. At 12, I hear the cautious creak of the guest bedroom door. Light footsteps in the hallway. Too light for Perry. It's Audrey. A shadow flickers under the door of my room. Silence as if someone is listening. Then the footsteps recede toward the living room. Isolantly rise from my chair and walk to the door. I open it carefully, just enough to see the hallway. In the dim light of the nightlight I always leave on, I see Audrey's silhouette. She's by the mantelpiece and there's something gleaming in her hand. A key. Audrey looks around, making sure no one sees, and heads toward my bedroom. I quickly and silently return to my chair, close my eyes, and pretend to sleep. My heart beats, faster with anticipation. The door opens quietly. I hear Audrey's cautious footsteps, sensing her presence in the room. She stops, apparently making sure I am really asleep. I snore lightly, convincingly enough, I think. The footsteps continue. She approaches the painting behind which the safe is hidden. I open my eyes slightly, just enough to see my sister-in-law's silhouette in the moonlight filtering through the loose curtains. Audrey pulls back the painting, and the metal door of the safe gleams in the silvery moonlight. She inserts the key, turns it. There is a quiet click and the safe is open. Audrey pulls a small flashlight from her robe pocket and shines it inside the safe. I see her freeze. Her hand with the flashlight trembles, illuminating the contents of the safe. A large pink dildo so realistic that even in the dim light, there is no doubt what it is. She reaches over and picks it up, apparently not believing. Her eyes. Then she notices the note attached to it. In the light of the flashlight, she reads, "Here's for you, not my savings." Audrey makes a squeeze sound, something between a sigh and a groan. She stands frozen with the dildo in one hand and the note in the other, clearly not knowing what to do next. Audrey stands frozen with a dildo in one hand and a note in the other. Her face, illuminated by the dim light of a small flashlight, is contorted with shock and disbelief. I see her reread the note several times as if she can't believe her eyes. I decide the moment has come. I turn on the lamp on the bedside table and a soft light floods the room. Audrey flinches and turns to me. Her face is pale, her eyes wide open. In that moment, she reminds me of a frightened teenager caught in the act. "Did you find what you were looking for, dear?" I ask in a calm voice, not moving from my chair. Audrey opens her mouth, but doesn't make a sound. She looks at the object in her hand, then back at me, then back at the dildo as if she can't decide what's worse. Being caught stealing or holding it in front of her mother _law. Yeah, it's not what you think. She finally squeezes out. What am I supposed to think? I wonder. That you walked into my bedroom in the middle of the night, opened my safe, and accidentally found this. Audrey blushes so hard that even in the dim light, it's noticeable. Her hands begin to tremble. I was just curious, she mumbles. Curious? I raise my eyebrows. At midnight, when you thought I was asleep. She lowers her eyes, clearly not finding anything to say. Suddenly realizing she's still holding the dildo, she hastily puts it back in the safe as if it's burning her fingers. Ruth, I can explain. I'm sure you can, I interrupt. But let's sit down first. It's going to be a long conversation. I point to the small chair by the dressing table. Audrey moves hesitantly toward it and sits down on the edge as if ready to jump up and run away at any moment. Aren't you going to wake Perry? She asks cautiously. Do you want me to? I answer her question with a question. She shakes her head quickly. No, please don't. He doesn't know I'm here. That's what I thought. I nod. I'm sure your intentions are the same, though. Audrey raises a confused look at me. What do you mean? I mean, darling, that I know exactly why you come to see me every 2 weeks. And it's certainly not out of love for your old mother-in-law. She opens her mouth to object, but I raise my hand, stopping her. Don't bother denying it. I wasn't born yesterday. I see how you evaluate every single thing in my house. The way Perry keeps bringing up conversations about me moving to a smaller place. How you both become more attentive when it comes to money or inheritance. Audrey looks like she wants to fall through the ground. Her shoulders slump. It's not true, she says quietly, but without conviction. Really? I tilt my head. Then explain. Why you snuck into my bedroom in the middle of the night and opened my safe. Audrey is silent, rubbing the waistband of Harab. Finally, she looks up. Yeah, we were having financial problems. She finally admits Perry lost some of his savings on a bad investment, and I had to take out a loan that he doesn't know about. I thought maybe you had something of value that you could borrow. Borrow? I raise my eyebrows. You mean steal? No. She straightens up. I'd give it back just temporarily until we get back on our feet. I sigh, looking at me sister-in-law. In this moment, she doesn't strike me as a calculating predator, but rather as a desperate woman, cornered by her own mistakes. Audrey, I say more gently. If you needed help, you could have just asked. She looks at me questioningly. Really? I didn't know. I answer honestly. Maybe I would have helped, but we'll never know because you chose to sneak into my house like a thief. Audrey lowers her head and I see a tear roll down her cheek. I'm not sure if it's a real emotion or just another manipulation, but I decide to give her a chance. Tell me about your problems, I offer. Real problems, unvarnished and manipulative. She hesitates, but then like a dam bursting, she starts talking. About how Perry invested his money in some dubious scheme that promised a quick return. How he lost almost all of his savings. About how she tried to hide her own financial difficulties from him with loans for home improvements and a new car. He would kill me if he knew how much I owed, she finishes. We fight about money all the time as it is. I listen in silence, not interrupting. It's a sad story, but unfortunately not unique. I've seen it so many times in my long life. People living beyond their means, hoping for a miracle or an inheritance that will solve all their troubles. And you've decided that my safe is your ticket out of the financial hole. I ask when she finishes. I don't know what I was thinking. Audrey runs her hand over her face. Perry mentioned that you might have some jewelry that Helen gave you or cash. Old people often don't trust banks. Old people, I repeat with a slight chuckle. Yes, we are so distrustful and naive, aren't we? Audrey looks embarrassed. That's not what I meant. No, that's exactly what I mean. I say firmly. You and Perry think I'm an old, naive woman, easily fooled, who doesn't see your manipulations or understand your true motives. I get up from my chair and walk over to the safe, still open. I take the dildo from there and turn to Audrey, who is looking at me in horror. Do you know why I put this here? I ask, because I knew that sooner or later you or Perry would try to look in my safe. And I wanted you to realize that I'm not the helpless old lady you think I am. I'm putting the dildo back in the safe and closing the door. All my valuables, jewelry, documents, money have been in the bank for a long time in a safe deposit box that only my lawyer and I have access to. Audrey looks at me with a mixture of shame and surprise. You have an attorney? Of course, I return to my chair. Minus Mr. Graves has been handling my cases for 15 years. A very competent man. And unlike some people, he doesn't wait for me to die to get his share. The last words clearly hurt Audrey. She flinches as if slapped. I don't. You don't expect me to die. I tilt my head. Maybe not consciously, but haven't you envisioned after I'm gone taking this house apart? Selling the furniture, looking for hidden valuables. Her silence speaks louder than any denial. Look, Audrey, I continue more urgently. I'm not mad at you for wanting a better life, or even that you're hoping for an inheritance. It's natural. I'm angry at the way you and Perry treat me. These fake smiles, this feigned concern, these scheduled visits as if I'm some kind of obligation to be fulfilled. Audrey is silent, but I can see in her face that my words resonate with her. I love my son, I say. And I tried to love AO when you were married, but you made it impossible with your attitude toward me. I didn't know you felt this way, Audrey says quietly. Really? I raise an eyebrow skeptically. Or did you just not care? She lowers her eyes and I see a tear roll down her cheek. A real one this time, I think. What now? She asks after a pause. Are you going to tell Perry? I hesitate. Part of me wants to punish them both to make them feel the shame and humiliation they've made me feel all these years, but the other part realizes that it won't bring my son back to me, and will probably only make them even more bitter and greedy. No, I finally decide. I won't, at least not now. But I have conditions. Audrey straightens up, looking at me hopefully and anxiously at the same time. What kind of conditions? First, no more talk of me moving or selling the house. This is my house, and I will live in it for as long as I want. She nods. Second, no more trying to find out what I own or how much it's worth. My will is made and kept by Mr. Graves. When the time comes, you will know what you are entitled to. Another nod. And thirdly, I pause. I want honesty. No more fake smiles or pretended concern. If you don't want to come to me, don't come. If you want to come. But be real. Audrey looks at me for a long moment. You're very different from other mothers-in-law, she says at last. And you're very unlike the daughter-in-law I dreamed of, I retort. But we have what we have. The question is what we're going to do with it. She's silent, considering my words. I see her expression change from one of shame and confusion to something more thoughtful. I can try, she finally says to be honest. But Perry's a grown man. I interrupt. And he'll decide how he wants to treat his mother. I'm not asking you to change him or speak for him. I'm asking you to be honest with yourself and with me. Audrey takes a deep breath and nods. I'll do my best. Good. I glance at my watch. It's getting late. You should go back to bed before Perry notices you're gone. She gets up but stops at the door. What about? She nods awkwardly toward the safe. My gift. I can't hold back a smile. You can keep it if you want. Consider it compensation for the lack of jewelry. Audrey blushes so hard I almost regret my joke. Almost. No. Thank you, she mumbles. Yeah, I think I'll be going. Good night, Audrey, I say as she opens the door. And remember what we talked about. She nods without turning around and slips out of the room. I hear her light footsteps in the hallway. Then the quiet creak of the guest bedroom door. Left alone, I walk back to the safe, lock it, and hang the key around my neck. Then I go to bed, but sleep doesn't come. I think about our conversation with Audrey, her confession, her promise to try to be honest. Did I believe her? Not really. People don't change that quickly or easily. But it's a start. A small step towards something that may never become true. Family intimacy. But at least it will be honest. In the meantime, Ismail, imagining the look on Audrey's face when she saw the contents of the safe. Alan would be pleased. He always said that the best joke is the one that not only makes you laugh, but teaches you a lesson. Today, I taught Audrey a lesson she won't soon forget. And who knows, maybe it will change something between us. Maybe it won't. But one thing I do know is that they'll never look at me as a helpless old lady again. It's a small victory, but it means a lot to me. I close my eyes, feeling a satisfaction I haven't felt in a long time. And finally, I fall asleep with a smile on my lips. Saturday morning greets me with bright sunlight streaming through the curtains. I wake up rested despite my late-night conversation with Audrey. The clock reads 7:30, my usual wake-up time. I wonder if Audrey is up yet. And what did she say to Perry, if he noticed her late-night absence? I take me time getting dressed, picking out the light blue dress that Alan called my battle attire. When you put it on, Ruth, you look like you're ready to fight dragons, he said, smiling. I needed that confidence today. After combing my hair and applying a little lipstick, I walk out of the bedroom. There are voices and the clinking of dishes coming from the kitchen. So, they're already up. I take a deep breath and head over there. Perry is sitting at the table reading the local paper I subscribe to. Audrey is at the stove stirring something in a pot. A typical morning scene if it weren't for the tension hanging in the air. Good morning, I say as I enter the kitchen. Perry looks up from the paper and nods. Good morning, Mom. How did you sleep? Fine, thanks, I say, glancing at Audrey, who avoids making eye contact with me. And you? Fine. Perry returns to the paper. Audrey's making oatmeal. Do you want some? I'd love to. I sit down at the table across from him. When are you leaving for? Richmond? After breakfast, he answers. The meeting is at 1 o'clock, but the roads can be busy. Audrey finally turns around holding a pot of oatmeal. Her face is paler than usual with dark circles under her eyes. Clearly didn't get much sleep after our late-night meeting. I put cinnamon and apples in it, she says, pouring the oatmeal on top plates. I hope you don't mind, Ruth. It sounds delicious. I smile at her, noticing how she tenses at my friendly tone. We start eating breakfast in awkward silence. Perry doesn't seem to notice the tension. Engrossed in an article about the local elections, Audrey barely touches her portion, moving her spoon around the plate. I eat quietly, contemplating how to start a conversation. The oatmeal is great, Audrey, I say finally. You've always been a good cook. She looks up in surprise. It's probably the first real compliment I've paid her in a long time. Thank you, she replies quietly. Perry puts the paper aside and looks at us. What's wrong with both of you today? You two seem weird. Nothing weird. I sip my coffee from my cup. I just have something important I'd like to discuss with you both. He frowns, straightening his chair. Is something wrong, Mom? Are you sick? It's typical of Perry to immediately think the worst, especially if it might affect his plans or finances. No, I'm perfectly healthy. I reassure him. That's not the point. I've made the decision to sell the house. Perry freezes with the spoon in, his hand before it reaches his mouth. Audrey looks at me with surprise, but without greed I would have noticed yesterday. Sell the house. Perry interjects. But why? Where will Yomov? Charleston, I answer calmly. To Eleanor Dunn, an old college friend Hoffman. Remember I told you about her? We've kept in touch over the years and she's recently widowed. She has a big house and she suggested I move in with her. Perry looks puzzled. But Mum, you always said you'd never leave this house. That this is where your memories of your father are. Yes, I did. I agree. But I realized that I could take the memories with me. And the house is just a building. Sometimes you have to move on. Audrey is silent, but I can see that she understands the real reason for my decision. Our late-night conversation plea didn't go to waste. When did you decide this? Perry asks, still in disbelief. I've been thinking about it for a while. I answer evasively. But you've made up my mind recently. What are you going to do with the money from the sale? His voice becomes tense, and you know what he's thinking. I'll put some of it in the bank, I say. I'll spend most of it on traveling. Travel? Perry almost shouts the word. At your age? What's wrong with my age? I raise my eyebrows. I'm 77, not 107. I'm healthy, active, and perfectly capable of seeing the places your father and I have always dreamed of visiting, but put off until later. Paris, Rome, Greece. I have a whole list. Perry looks like he's been kicked in the butt. I can almost hear his inheritance plans falling apart. But Mum, this is irresponsible. You have to think about the future. About what, Perry? Interrupt, looking him straight in the eye. You about what you'll get when ID. He blushes but doesn't deny it. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what I mean. I set the spoon aside. Listen to me, both of you. I know about your financial problems. Perry casts a quick glance at Audrey, who sits with her eyes down. Did you tell her? He hisses. No, she replies quietly. I didn't say anything. No one told me. I interject. I'm not blind or deaf. I see the way you look at my things. Hear your talk of inheritance. Notice how you try to find out about my savings. Perry opens his mouth to object, but I raise my hand, stopping him. Don't deny it, Dot. It's pointless. I know you and Audrey were counting on my house and money to solve your problems. But I'm not going to die anytime soon just to make your lives easier. Silence reigns in the kitchen. Perry looks at me with surprise and resentment. Audrey continues. To study her plate. I loved your father, Perry. I continue more gently. And I love you no matter what. But I can't do living in a situation where my own children are waiting for me to die, so they can inherit. Mum, that's not true. He's indignant. How can you say that? It's not like that. I tilt my head. Then explain to Mui you visit me on a schedule, like you're doing chores. Why do all your conversations boil down to my move, my finances, my will? Why do I feel like you want my house, my belongings, my money, but not myself? Perry is silent, and I can see in his eyes that my words shit. The mark. He's never been a good liar. I don't want to accuse you. I continue. And I'm not looking for a reconciliation or an apology. I'm just setting new boundaries. I'm selling the house, moving in with Eleanor, and living the life I want. not the life you want. So, where does that leave us? Perry asks after a pause. His voice sounds depressed. That's up to you, I answer. If all you care about is my money and my inheritance. Nothing. I've already discussed a new will with Mr. Graves, my lawyer. Most of what's left when I die will go to charity. Perry flinches, as if struck by a blow. You're disinheriting me? Your own son? No. I shake my head. I'll leave you some of it, but don't expect it to solve all your problems. And don't expect it anytime soon. He stands up from the table, his face contorted with anger and resentment. I can't believe you're doing this, Mom. After everything after all, I interrupt. After all those duty visits, after all those fake smiles and fake caring, after all that talk about me moving out and selling my stuff. Perry is silent, clenching his fists. Perry. Audrey finally looks up. She's right. He looks at her with a puzzled expression. What? She's right. Audrey repeats quietly. We were really thinking more about the inheritance than about her. Perry looks like he's been betrayed. Are you against me too? I'm not against you. Audrey shakes her head. I'm just telling the truth. Don't you remember how we discussed what we'd do at the house after she died? How we planned to sell the furniture, the paintings, everything in here? Perry blushes even more. It was just talk. No, not just, Audrey insists. We really thought so. And your mom felt it all the time. I look at my sister-in-law with a new respect. Maybe our conversation last night affected her more than I thought. I'm not going to cut ties with you, I say, breaking the tense silence. If you want to visit me in Charleston, be my guest. If you want to call, I'll always answer. But I will no longer tolerate falsehoods and manipulation. I deserve better in my remaining years. Perry slumps back in his chair as if the air has been sucked out of him. High anger is replaced by something akin to shame. When are you leaving? He asks quietly. In a month, I answer. Minus Mr. Polk will help me sell the house. He's not only a roofer, but a retired realtor. He already has several potential buyers. So soon? Perry shakes his head. You've already made up your mind. Yes, I have, I confirm. And I feel better than I have in years. What about all this stuff? He circles the kitchen, the furniture, the dishes, the pictures. Some of it I'll take with me, I explain. Some of it I'll sell. A few special things I'll leave to you if you want them, but not out of guilt or obligation, but because it's the right thing to do. Audrey reaches across the table and suddenly takes my hand. I'm going to miss you, Ruth, she says. And there's a sincerity in her voice that I've never heard before. Really miss you. I squeeze her hand in return. Thank you, Audrey. I'll miss you both, too. But this isn't the end. Just a new beginning for all of us. Perry looks at our joined hands in bewilderment. He clearly doesn't understand what's happening between us. What's changed in it? We should get ready, he finally says, getting up from the table. It's a long drive to Richmond. Audrey reluctantly lets go of my hand and nods. Yeah, sure. I'll do the dishes and pack. Don't worry about the dishes, I say. I'll do it myself. She smiles at me for the first time all morning. Thank you. Perry walks out of the kitchen without another word. I hear his heavy footsteps on the stairs. Audrey lingers, helping me gather plates. You're not going to give me away, are you? She whispers about last night. I won't. I promise. But you have to tell him yourself about your financial problems, about your loans. Secrets ruin relationships, Audrey. She sighed. I know. I'm just afraid of his reaction. Perry is more like his father than he realizes. I say he can get angry, but eventually he'll accept the truth. especially if it comes from you and not someone else. Audrey nods and goes upstairs after her husband. I stay in the kitchen washing dishes and reflecting on what just happened. It wasn't the easiest conversation I've ever had, but it may have been the most necessary. Half an hour later, they come downstairs with their bags. Harry still looks hurt, but not so angry anymore. Audrey stays close to him, but her gaze turned to me is full of a new warmth. "We'll be in touch, Mom," Harry says, awkwardly hugging me goodbye about everything. "Of course, honey." I pat him on the back. "Take care of yourself and careful driving." Audrey hugs me tighter and longer. "Thank you," she whispers in my ear for Thelison. I smile, knowing she's referring not only to our conversation this morning, but also to the nighttime meeting at the safe. "You're welcome, sweetheart." I stand on the porch waving at them until their car disappears around the corner. Only then do I allow myself to take a deep breath of relief. It's done. I finally said what I should have said a long time ago. Back in the house, I make my way to their bedroom and open the safe. I take out a pink dildo from there, my unusual but effective instrument of truth. Looking at it, I can't contain my laughter. "You were right, Alan," I say out loud. "Sometimes it takes unconventional methods to get the truth out." I put the toy in the back of the drawer. "One knows, it might still be useful," and walk out into the garden. It's a beautiful sunny day, and I have lots of plans ahead of me. I need to call Eleanor to discuss the details of the move, meet with Mr. Polk about selling the house, start making a list of places I want to visit. For the first time in a long time, I feel truly free. Free of expectations, free of manipulation, free of fake caring, free to live my remaining years the way I want to, not the way that is convenient for others. Sitting in the garden in Alan's chair, I look up at the sky and smile. Life is just beginning, Ruth Eddington.